Hey, in Arms coaching community, this series should really be called Lunchtime Musings because I found that as I'm leading the second 3-day retreat this week for my programs, all of this amazing content and pieces of wisdom are coming up that I really want to share with my greater community. So when you get into this video, shoot me a hello and tell me that you're watching and tell me where you are. Tell me what you're eating for lunch. I love hearing from you guys. Otherwise, it just feels like I'm talking at this screen, and what I really love is talking to you guys, and so it helps to hear back from you. So shoot a hello and whatever you want to say in the comment box when you come in. But one of the things that we were talking about today in the last day of the Biz Elementals 3-day retreat was how, oh, that's a gross bug. Oh, sorry, I don't want that on my body. Was how you can't create a different result with the same thinking or with the same, with your brain working the same way. And hey, Beth, yay, fiddleheads. Of course you are. Of course you're eating fiddleheads. You can't create a different result with the same thinking that you used last time. So often I'll find women who are stuck in business will just decide to do something differently, or they'll, decide to get like disciplined. It's like we're doing something wrong that we have to fix, and intentions are enough. And y'all know I'm a witch. Intentions are very, very important to me. But they're not enough. Just deciding that you want to do something differently doesn't mean that your brain that created the situation where you're stuck in the first place can actually just easily intend to do something different and do it differently. And this is one of the reasons why folks get stuck at a certain ceiling in their business where they're DIYing everything, where they're doing everything themselves. And when they get stuck, they just decide that they have to try something different. When really what's happening is that there's something in your brain that is ready to evolve or change. There's a neural pathway, there's a belief system, and trying to get a different result externally using external tools, like maybe now you're going to plan ahead, or maybe now you're going to like discipline yourself to work on your business. That's not necessarily the answer, because you're not addressing the root cause, the original neural pathway, or the original belief, or the original fear that got you stuck in the first place. So we were talking about that in the retreat today, and how it's often not a matter of doing something differently, why you are stuck and what the neural pathway or belief system or fear is, and then working to rewire it. And I actually gave the women in the Biz Elementals a couple of really great resources for actually rewiring your brain, because that's what's necessary at that juncture. You have to understand why you're doing what you're doing, where you're getting stuck. And this is one of those places where you really want to not be going it alone. My best boo, Jen Moore, modern medicine lady, who you really have to check out. When you're finished with this video, go check out modernmedicinelady.com, or you can find her on Facebook. I don't know if it's hers or not, but I attribute it to her because she says it all the time. You can't read the label from inside the jar. You really often need perspective, guidance, other people's wisdom and expertise to understand what the label is on the outside of the jar, so that you can address the most effective way of fixing it or changing it or creating another neural pathway, or so that you can even see the beliefs. So for, as an example, one of the beliefs that we were talking about today, it's not as much a belief as it is a pattern of behavior. And I so resonate with this, is that I have clients who often get stuck in procrastination, missing deadlines, frantically trying to make deadlines, leaving things till the last minute, not planning ahead. And I used to do the same thing. And my belief about myself was that I was just too lazy to get my shit together before like the last minute. And for years, I believed that I was just a lazy person. Um, until my coach said, Britt, you are one of the busiest, most active people I've ever met. And you single-handedly, this was back years ago, she said, "You single-handedly support yourself and your toddler without child support. You run a business, you work a day job or a night job at that point." She was like, "You are the polar opposite of lazy." And so then I had to really look at, okay, well, why do I procrastinate? Why am I refusing to plan ahead? Why do I plan ahead and then sabotage myself and not stick to it? Why do I leave everything for the last minute? If it's not lazy, what is it? And I realized that as someone with an immune disorder, I've had an immune disorder since I was 19. So for my entire adult life, as someone with immune disorder, I have this very tangible understanding that at any moment I could be too tired to get out of bed. At any moment I could, just completely lose my energy and my motivation. And that's happened to me before, not in many years, because I am anal retentive about taking care of myself now so that that doesn't happen. But my belief was that I actually needed, so what happens when you hit a last minute deadline or you didn't plan ahead so everything goes to shit is that you panic and you get a surge of adrenaline. And if you think about it, in American culture today, so many of us are doing things that we don't have an intrinsic motivation for, that we don't have an intrinsic passion and drive for, that I think that we've culturally become accustomed to relying on bursts of adrenaline, or cups of coffee or sugar, right, to fuel us and to motivate us. And many of us have sort of lost sight of the fact that our passion and um, our involvement and commitment and dedication to what we're doing is supposed to fuel what we rely on adrenaline and caffeine and sugar for fueling. So many of us have gotten used to, we've worn this neural pathway that makes us afraid that if we're not motivating ourselves with that adrenaline kick, which by the way is super bad for your adrenals. I don't even know the numbers on Americans who have adrenal fatigue and exhaustion, but it's really high. So we rely on that instead of really believing in and tapping our own motivation and connection to the why of what we do. So that's a really great example of, like, you can't just decide not to use adrenaline rushes anymore. You really have to rewire your brain to understand that when you care about what you're doing and when you have an intrinsic connection to, commitment to, passion for, investment in, motivation for what you're doing, you don't need the adrenaline. But that was a really great example from one of my clients in the Biz Elementals program of a place where it's not as much a matter of like deciding to do something differently or like disciplining herself to do something differently. It's a matter of understanding why you do what you do and your very valid reasons for it, and then B, understanding how to rewire your brain to choose a different neural pathway. So that was just, those are my lunchtime musings from the retreat today. It's just been, I feel like every retreat, maybe I should come in and talk to you guys at lunchtime. I don't know if this is valuable for you. I'd love to hear if any of this is valuable for you in the comments. But it's really fascinating to me to think about, how to get our brains to work with us instead of against us. And I think that it is a imperative tool in your business. It's kind of, I always say, you can run your business as if you're swimming upstream, or you can run your business as if you're swimming downstream. You'll probably get, because you're badass women and you're super, super devoted and committed, you'll probably get to the same place at some point, one way or another. But it's about how the journey feels. Do you want to be slogging against the current? Or do you want to be like, oh, look at me, the current is totally carrying me. And yes, I'm participating in the movement, but I'm being like pushed and held by something bigger than myself. I want to feel the latter way. You might not, no judgment. But it's really important in your business to understand how to feel differently, how the work that you're doing can feel differently, and ideally get you different and better and easier results. But at the very, very least, what you're doing is going to feel drastically differently. So I hope that was useful. Those are lunchtime musings from this week's Biz Elementals 3-day retreat. This is the last day of the retreat, and I'm going to be hopefully putting the boat in the water tomorrow. So I'm not going to be here tomorrow. But I hope that this was useful to you. And if you were tuning in live, thank you so much.